We hear a lot about pharmaceutical innovation, drugs that fix physical problems, pain, infections, blood pressure, all the sort of mechanics of the body.
Right.
But what happens when researchers, almost by accident, find a molecule that targets something else entirely? Something like the mental ignition switch, the source of desire itself.
That is the perfect way to frame it.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what we're exploring today. We are doing a deep dive into PT-141, or as it's known in the regulatory world, bremelanotide.
Right.
And this molecule is just fascinating because it doesn't just treat a symptom. It interacts directly with these central neurological pathways for motivation and arousal.
And you see this compound everywhere. It seems to live in two completely different worlds. On one hand, you have the, let's say, murky world of research peptides online. And on the other, you have legitimate FDA-approved prescription medicine.
Exactly. And at its core, bremelanotide is a synthetic peptide. It's designed to activate specific melanocortin receptors in the brain. And these pathways are, they're intimately tied to sexual motivation.
This is a critical distinction for you to understand because it is a radically different approach than older treatments.
So our mission for this deep dive is pretty straightforward. We want to give you a really thorough understanding of this substance. We're going to trace its incredible, unexpected history.
Yeah, it's quite a story.
We'll explain exactly how its brain-first mechanism works. We'll look at the very specific, very narrow conditions it's actually approved for. And this is the most important part. We are going to dissect these serious safety warnings that just get ignored in a lot of online discussions.
Absolutely critical.
Okay, so let's unpack this journey. When we think about drug discovery, we picture, years of targeted research. But the story PT-141, it didn't start in the sex health lab, did it?
Not at all. It's a classic case of scientific serendipity, really.
Right.
The whole story traces back to broader research into the melanocortin system, specifically a precursor molecule called melanotan II.
Melanotan II, and what was that originally for? It was being looked at for its potential as a sunless tanning agent. It was all about skin pigment.
A tanning compound. A
Yeah.
tanning compound that suddenly became this massive aphrodisiac. I mean,
Right.
I have to imagine the meeting where the researchers had to report that. It must have been chaos.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
But from what's reported, the sexual side effect was just so strong and so pervasive, especially the robust arousal and erections they saw in the male testers, that they couldn't ignore it.
It's impossible to ignore.
It rapidly became what you'd call an unignorable side effect.
So that's a complete pivot. You go from researching skin pigment one day to researching neuroactive desire the next.
That one observation just completely changed the trajectory. The discovery led very quickly to melanotan II being licensed specifically for sexual dysfunction development.
Wow.
And from there, a company, Palatine Technologies, they developed bremelanotide, or PT-141, which is a modified sort of second-generation version to pursue therapeutically, focusing only on that arousal effect.
Okay, this is where the science gets really deep, and this is the crucial insight for you to take away. Most people know about drugs like Viagra or Cialis, right? We use the analogy that they target the plumbing, they increase blood flow for the mechanical function. So if PT-141 isn't doing that, what makes it brain first?
It's all about the target. PT-141 works almost exclusively on a central nervous system. It binds to and activates melanocortin receptors. And the main one here is the MC4R.
The MC4R, right. And where does that live? Why does activating it create desire?
So we need to talk about where MC4R is active. It's densely packed in key areas like the hypothalamus and the limbic system.
The primal centers of the brain?
Exactly, the parts tied to survival, motivation, reward. When bremelanotide hits that receptor, it's like sending a signal straight into the central motivation system.
So if the older drugs help the plumbing work efficiently,
Then PT-141 is targeting the wiring.
the why?
It's influencing the fundamental circuits that decide whether you're even motivated or interested in the first place. And that's the difference between desire and function.
That's a huge distinction. The reported effects aren't about fixing mechanical ability. People describe it as an increase in drive, a mental ignition, right? It seems to tackle the indifference, not the capability.
That's it.
That neurological link targeting motivation through dopamine signaling. That's the aha moment here.
Exactly. It's like turning up the volume on the foundational drive circuits in your brain.
Now, you mentioned its history, but the regulatory journey, that wasn't smooth at all. How did it go from a failed nasal spray to the injection we have today?
You're right. The path was interrupted.
Yeah.
And pretty dramatically. The early development was looking at an intranasal route. a nasal spray.
For quick absorption, I assume.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But around 2007, they shut the whole program down. It was completely halted.
And that was because of blood pressure issues, correct. But what was the specific reason the nasal spray caused that problem and the injection fixed it?
It wasn't just a production issue. It was all about pharmacokinetics, how the body actually handles the drug.
Okay.
When you deliver it intranasally, you get this really rapid spike, a Cmax, in the drug's concentration in your system. And that fast, uncontrolled surge was leading directly to these blood pressure spikes. The cardiovascular risk was just too high.
That makes perfect sense. It was flooding the system too quickly.
Precisely. So to solve this, they went back to the drawing board. They switched to a subcutaneous or under-the-skin injection.
A totally different delivery method.
Right. And this new route gives you a much slower, more controlled release into the bloodstream. It allowed them to manage that dose-response curve and, mitigate that acute cardiovascular risk. And that's what eventually led to the approval.
So after all that, let's just confirm its status today. Is bremelanotide a legitimate FDA-approved drug right now?
Yes, it is. Bremelanotide is FDA-approved in the U.S. It's sold under the brand name Vyleesi.
Vyleesi.
But, and this is a huge but, the approval is extraordinarily narrow. It reflects just how complex the condition it treats really is.
And what is that specific indication? Because if it targets the wiring, you'd think it would be for a broader group. Why is it so specific?
It is approved exclusively for premenopausal women with acquired generalized hypoactive sexual desire disorder, HSDD.
Okay, let's break that down. Acquired generalized HSDD.
Right. And on top of that, the disorder has to be causing distress, and it can't be primarily due to relationship problems, other medical conditions, or psychiatric issues.
So the FDA is saying this is only for cases where the neurological switch seems to be off without another obvious cause.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And we should be very explicit. While there was some early testing in men, it is definitively not approved for male sexual dysfunction or ED today.
Right, that's a critical point. So separating the FDA label from all the online noise is crucial here. If someone is legitimately prescribed Vyleesi, what are the official rules for using it? Let's give our listeners the facts, not the bro science.
Absolutely. We have to stick to the regulated dosing guidance. It's all designed for efficacy and, more importantly, for safety.
Okay.
So the official label has very strict rules. First, it's taken at least 45 minutes before anticipated sexual activity.
45 minutes, got it.
Second, no more than one dose is allowed within any 24-hour period.
And what about over a longer period, like a month?
That's also limited. The frequency is capped at no more than 8 total doses per month.
Wow, only 8.
And that's a critical safety limitation. It ensures the body has time to process everything between doses. There's also guidance that if a patient doesn't see meaningful improvement after about 8 weeks, they should stop the drug.
That 8-dose limit really drives home that this isn't some kind of cognitive enhancer. It's a highly targeted, on-demand medication for a specific distressing condition.
Exactly.
So when people follow these rules, what are the reported outcomes? What do they feel?
In general, users report increased desire, heightened arousal, and greater responsiveness to stimulation. Some people also mention physiological feelings like a mild flushing or just a general sense of activation.
But it's not a magic switch.
Not at all. It's vital to stress that this is not a guaranteed universal on switch. The clinical benefits are real, but they can be modest, and they depend so much on the individual's baseline and their context.
Okay, this brings us to what I think is the most critical section for anyone listening. We've established this is a potent neuroactive drug. It has strong effects. So what are the specific side effects and, more importantly, the serious risks everyone needs to know?
The most common side effect, the one cited as very common in the trials, is nausea.
Nausea, okay.
Other known issues are things like headache, flushing, reactions at the injection site, and even vomiting in some cases. But really, the focus has to be on the cardiovascular effects.
Let's go back to the heart then, especially given the history with the nasal spray. What does the approved injection still do to the body?
This is the crucial point. Bremelanotide can cause a temporary increase in blood pressure. And, a little counterintuitively, it can also cause a simultaneous decrease in heart rate after dosing.
So your blood pressure goes up while your heart rate goes down? That sounds like a serious pharmacological stress test on your body.
It is. And that's why it leads to the absolute contraindication. This is the non-negotiable warning. Per the official label, it is strictly forbidden for people with uncontrolled hypertension or any known pre-existing cardiovascular disease.
That's a huge red flag. Are there any long-term issues to be aware of?
Yes. Hyperpigmentation, which is a darkening of the skin or gums or breasts, it has been reported, especially with more frequent use, which, speaks to its origins in melanocortin research.
We have to address the elephant in the room here.
Right.
Two markets, this is a huge safety risk. You have Vyleesi, the legitimate prescription, and then you have PT-141 research peptide online. Why is this distinction potentially life or death?
The difference is everything. Vyleesi is made under strict pharmaceutical quality controls. The PT-141 sold on the gray market, even if the molecule is correct, is completely unregulated.
And what does that mean in practical terms? No regulation.
It means the risks are exponential. You have zero guarantee of purity. You could be injecting a product cut with buffers, stabilizers, maybe even heavy metals.
And since it's an injection.
Exactly. Since it's an injection, the product may have been handled without any sterile processes. So you face the immediate danger of bacterial contamination or a serious infection at the injection site.
So the bottom line here, regardless of what online forums might claim, is that this is a real neuroactive drug with measurable effects on your heart and blood pressure.
Correct. The core principle must be, it is not safe because it's a peptide. The official rules and the contraindications, they exist because this is a powerful pharmacological agent. It can cause serious harm if it's misused or if the quality is compromised. It's not a free pass to just experiment.
So looking forward, what does a molecule like this tell us about the future of medicine? Beyond HSDD, why is the melanocortin system still so fascinating to researchers?
The melanocortin system is it's profoundly foundational. It runs deep into our basic biology. We see it tied not just to sexual motivation and arousal, but also heavily involved in reward signaling, mood, and broad metabolic pathways.
Right, MC4R is huge in obesity research for appetite regulation.
Exactly. The overlap between appetite, energy balance, and sexual drive is scientifically fascinating because really they're all fundamental behavioral drives needed for survival. So interest remains extremely high in this whole class of compounds and how they affect general motivation and arousal networks.
So to wrap up, we've traced this unexpected journey of PT-141. It started as a surprising side effect in tanning research, hit a huge regulatory wall with the nasal spray because of blood pressure concerns, and then finally returned as a regulated injectable treatment.
And this compound, it really provides one of the clearest brain-first approaches we have in modern medicine. It targets the wiring of desire. It offers real benefits for a narrow condition, but that potential comes with very serious, non-negotiable rules.
And as we close out, here's a final thought for you to mull over. The discovery of PT-141, a major neuroactive compound, came entirely from observing an accidental side effect. Given that the very same melanocortin receptors that control desire are also deeply tied to metabolism and appetite, what other critical behavioral drives might we unlock just by paying closer attention to unexpected side effects in seemingly unrelated drug trials?
That is a powerful thought. And since we've talked so much about the safety issues, we have to end with this crucial reminder for everyone listening. This information is strictly educational because this compound can affect blood pressure and has serious contraindications. If you have heart disease, uncontrolled hypertension, or you take any prescription medications, please always consult a licensed clinician before ever considering the use of any such substance.
That's a truly vital reminder. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.